Good morning. It's Kelly DeMarco here, and I'm talking about my husband's journey with multiple myeloma and what it's like to partner with him through this. I'm also just seeing lots of parallels between dealing with the crisis of cancer and dealing with the crisis of climate change, because as a climate coach and also as a therapist, I'm really seeing that there's not a whole lot of difference in terms of how we deal with crises moments, and there's a lot to learn about one that can be applied to the other. So I think this morning the thing that's really moving in me, I've been preparing for a TEDx women's talk, and one of the themes in there is embracing the power of crisis moments. And Tim and I were talking this morning just about, what can happen in hard moments. I mean, you can grumble and gripe and moan and bitch, and I think that, we're humans, and there's a place for that because it feels like a healthy venting, but there's a point where it reaches, it's no longer healthy venting, and it becomes an energy that just kind of can suck you down and drain the wind out of your sails. And I think one of the things that I'm really acknowledging and appreciating is that crises moments have a lot of value. I think prior to a moment becoming a crisis moment, we can kind of like slowly adapt to hard times and adapt. We're so good at adapting that we don't even know we're doing it. We just, adjust here and there and try to find normalcy. We try to find rhythms that feel good to us. We distract ourselves and find ways to feel good in spite of things around us feeling not so good. And those can even be things in our own home. I mean, I think, the Netflix, Amazon Prime, internet industry is like booming because it's filled with the opportunity to distract and take our attention off of things that feel hard or uncomfortable or inconvenient. And cancer is certainly one of those. Chronic pain was definitely one of those. Climate change is definitely one of those. But what I'm seeing is that there's huge value. And if you're distracted by my driving, I wish I could show you the road I'm on. There's absolutely not a car in sight. I'm driving, slowly enough, and my eyes are on the road and both hands are on the wheel. So I just want you to know that. The value of like turning into a crisis, when something becomes a crisis, it's like you go on high alert, and it's hard not to pay attention to the issue at hand. And I think when I see responses to disasters, I was trained to do disaster relief and disaster response through FEMA. And I mean, when it's a real crisis, it's like everybody's full attention is like right there, and you can't help but pay attention to what's going on in the moment, and your adrenaline's pumping. And I think that what I've noticed for myself, I mean, I don't know how this happened, but like when I first read the article on climate change way back in 1991, it really like penetrated into me as a crisis. Like I couldn't not feel it as a crisis after reading that article, because something flipped in me, and I just knew that with my whole being that like this was something that needed not just peripheral attention, or attention like when you have time to get to it. It was like, felt like a central, theme in my life, a central issue of concern. And as a healthcare worker, I felt like, God, if I don't address climate change, like, what am I doing? Because we can't be healthy as individuals without a healthy planet. And as I've really handheld people through processes of change over the years, wearing the hats of therapist and minister and coach, and even as parent, I've just seen how easy it is, how easy it is to want to distract, to not lean into the crisis, and it can be a crisis of any kind, but it's let's quickly hurry up and move past this because it's so uncomfortable that I don't want to stay in this feeling. And what I've noticed this past summer in navigating this cancer crisis with Tim, and I call it a crisis because he was really on death's door, and he's been on death's door a whole lot of times this summer, and he's still not in the clear and won't be in the clear for quite some time. And so it feels like we're living on the edge of the possibility of death, and really pulling for life. And I feel like we're in that moment. We're in that moment as humanity. Our planet will be fine. Everything will eventually bounce back in time, but we may not be fine. And so the crisis really is about us. And I'm just feeling how, what would it look like if we all collectively turned in and really embraced it as a crisis? Really looked at the things that we love about our green spaces the most, and our water and our fresh air, and really looked at it and acknowledged deep within our beings what's happening right now as we speak to our planet, and ask that question, what can I do about it? Who can I call? What changes can I make? What can I do to help my planet thrive so that I have the best chance of thriving as life goes on, and the people around me have the best chance of thriving, and our children and future generations have the best chance of thriving. And I think that, looking at well, what do I do to numb out to it? What do I do to distract myself from it? What do I do to not really feel it as a crisis day in and day out? And I think, long-term crises, we have to pivot, we have to shift. If it's a crisis for too long, then it becomes so taxing and wearing that we lose our capacity to respond. But if we don't lean in and feel it within the very depths of our being as a crisis, then we never bring our all to it, because we have created a society in which it is so easy to be so busy with all of these things that seem so important, and we tell ourselves that they're so important. But if our planet goes, if the green spaces around us can't sustain our own lives and livelihood, if our air and our water no longer sustains human life, then how much do those things matter? They don't. And so if one person could reach out to all of my circles of the people that I know, the people who come across me, that would be the core of my message right now. And the core invitation that I have is look, feel in yourself where you turn away from crisis, where you turn away from hard, where you turn away from and allow yourself to turn towards, to feel it with your whole being, to feel the things that you're seeing and what they mean for those that you love and those that are coming. Our children will hopefully have children one day, and so the planet that we're fighting for is not just for us, it's not just for our kids, but it's for their kids. And I think we're all like starting to get it and starting to take more steps, but I also feel like there's this tendency to still think that like it's on the government to fix the problem. It's on big business to fix the problem. But we're the ones who shop. We're the ones who buy. So we have power when we step into a store and we decide what we're gonna buy. We are the ones who vote. We are the ones who make, have the power to make phone calls and advocate for the things that we want. So, activism looks like, it can look like getting out on the streets, but can also look like shopping, and shopping with a conscience. It can look like, making phone calls and having the kinds of conversations to further the kinds of causes that you're passionate about and that matter to you. So in the midst of my crisis and our family's crisis, and I say that as Tim looked not so good this morning and was vomiting profusely and really in need of dialysis, this crisis is with us. It will inform how we go about living for, I think, many months and years to come. And the planetary crisis that we're all, living amongst right now is a crisis that will impact us for many months and years to come. And we can be on the affected side of that and be forced to make changes down the road because things will be on our doorstep and we won't have a choice, or we can allow ourselves to lean into the crisis that it is now, even if it doesn't feel like it's on our doorstep, and feel the crisis that it is for many, many people on the planet, even if it's not you. And feel like if it doesn't get addressed, what could that feel like when it does reach your doorstep? And what will you have wished you had done? What are the conversations you will have wished you had had? I mean, I wished that I had leaned into pain in a different way sooner. I wished I had pushed my husband to go and have the kinds of evaluations and workups that he had in June. I wished I had pushed for that sooner, but I didn't see it sooner. And I had been doing all kinds of things to numb out from my own pain, because when you are living with someone with chronic pain for so long and you can't fix it, numbing out feels like a survival tactic after a while. But it could have meant his death. So I'm really assessing that for myself. Like, oh gosh, when it's hard and it's uncomfortable, like, what do I do? And if I'm numbing out, why am I numbing out? I have to keep going with the conversations. I have to keep pushing for the changes that feel right to me, or helping handhold my family through difficult moments to get the help that's needed, to get the answers that make sense. So now I'm getting ready to turn onto a busier road where there's at least a few cars. So I'm going to hang up or turn this off. But thanks for listening to me talk about this morning, and just allowing me space to unload and pull my thoughts together even more for the talk that's to come. So have a wonderful Tuesday, and peace to you.